So there you go. All eyes on NDDC. As a matter of fact, it's from one thing to the other. So if they pulled out all those documents, requesting to go back and come back to the House committee to defend their budget, which they couldn't successfully do there, as you heard. And then it raises more questions. As a matter of fact, we also did reach out to the NDDC, even their agents as well, to have them on the program. But we woke up this morning to find out that they said they can't be on the program. So that seems to be, who knows, a trajectory these days. But we're going ahead anyway. The show must go on, as they say. And speaking about fact, we do have Mr. Kolawole Johnson here with us. He is the direct head, Directorate of Research, Strategy and Program of the Act for Positive Transformation Initiative, APTI. Good morning, Mr. Johnson. Thank you for joining us today. Well, the NDDC can't join up today, but you have been speaking about some of the findings, the documents that you do have on the commission about certain things that have been going on. And we do know, was it upon some of your findings? Because there are reports indicating that the House also had to make reference to some of those documents alleging fraud. Are those the premise upon which you've been making your comments lately?
Yeah, thank you, Chimbali, and good morning. Incidentally, your station played a major role in this whole saga, and I think you deserve all the kudos. We started mining documents from NDDC since last year, March, after the election. In fact, immediately after the election, a few days after the election. Some games were played then, so we decided to sit back and start watching. And so we've been collecting documents for over 1 year before we started talking. And what led to the talking was simply because, one, the documents and the petitions we submitted to the National Assembly were not attended to. Oh, of course, that's my own assumption, because I felt if they were attended to, for example, we wrote one in January this year, and we stated some few things that we saw. And if the National Assembly had taken up the gauntlet in good time, all the graft, the malfeasance we saw between February and May would not have happened. Because as at that time, it was a child's play. In fact, comparatively, it was nothing. But between February and May ending, and in fact, even a part of June, it's been a hell. The place has been looted dry. I can say that with all boldness, because we have documents to back that up. In April, after we watched Dr. Cairo write on your station making some claims that we knew were not correct, the following day, less than 12 hours, or say less than 24 hours after, we released a statement with the documents to back that up. And we submitted quite a number of them to National Assembly, quite a number of them, to NAS. We still have more to submit. And I think the allegations we raised at the beginning, I want to believe, form the body of the motion that was raised at both the floor of House of Rep and the Senate, because we alleged in the first petition we wrote, in April, then not the other ones, that the Commission must have squandered between 44 and 49 billion naira. Perhaps they did their investigation and brought it down to 40 billion naira. But we again moved forward to say it is not even about 44 or 49 billion. It has gone beyond that. The very first allegation we made, the Commission came out to say they've only spent 22 billion naira, that they haven't spent anything near 40 billion naira. But we insisted because we had the document before we started talking. And later on, when they came out to publish their expenses to or their expenditure rather, on the pages of newspaper, I called it then deceptive transparency, because I knew that they only declared about 33 billion, yes. And I knew that the spendings were over 80 billion naira. And today, I'd like to say that the CBN record submitted to the Senate, they read it out on the day of the hearing, was 92 billion naira that have been spent in just a short while. And when we mention, when they keep talking about what they have spent, they leave out tax. And I say, so where is that tax coming from? For example, if I am awarded a contract of 100 million naira, for example, tax is inclusive. So you can't say because what gets to my account is, say, 93 billion naira, that you will say the contract that was awarded is 93 billion naira. It was 100, million naira. So it was a 100 million naira contract. But after tax, I get some amount in my purse. So the amount we are looking at is actually 92 billion naira. We dropped that again this morning for the public. So basically, I think our agitations, our work is paying off now. Nigerians are talking about it, and people have actually taken over from us. Even the process of investigation, people are doing that already. I'll give you an example. After the show we had on Sunday night, the entire Twitter went agog, and my eyes were open to something. I was shocked. Remember, on that program, I mentioned 4 companies that was involved in that contract scam with the commission. When they came here to say they have not awarded any contract, they have actually awarded contract and they have made some payment. Now, after we made some noise about it, what they did was to discontinue 2 of the companies, but they continue with the 2 of them, and the 2 of them that got further payments were Osmoserve and AHR Global. Now, after the program on Sunday, I saw a tweet of someone giving us the dossier, the CAC document of AHR Global, and we saw something very, very interesting. Abu Peter Rebel is a director in AHR. He is also a major, in fact, the owner of Roadmap. So that means the 2 companies that handle the COVID-19 contract belong to the same person. And I want to say on this program this morning expressly that the individual involved has a link with the Minister of the Niger Delta Affairs. And I'm challenging the security agencies, the anti-corruption agencies, to probe the account of Roadmap Nigeria Limited and the account of the Minister of Niger Delta Affairs. Again, we have dropped that bombshell. Thank you.
All right. Just before, these names, we'll have to get some clarity about them. But you said that, you were mining documents, mining information about the NDDC and the activities in that commission for a year before any announcement was made by anybody, which you had to contravene with your own documents. The Niger Delta Development Commission started work in 2000. This is 2020, 20-year-old organization. From your findings, how far back does this fraud date?
Started in year 2000, the same year the commission was established. But there's a limit to what we can get out. We have been involved in agitation for a better Niger Delta region. We have criticized oil companies, we have criticized stakeholders, we have criticized the commission for a number of years. But it got to a time that we decided to change strategy. Don't leave the thing at just criticizing. Don't leave the thing at just raising some allegations or just making some noise. So we decided to sit down and change our approach to issue. So we said, okay, let's get something done. Sit down, establish cases that can be proven both in the public and in the law court. So it took us a lot of time to get that done. And it took a lot of processes, confirmation upon confirmation. I don't want to go to prison. So it was after we got this definite assurance that a lot of things ongoing there. Scam. If 100 billion naira is, in fact, they said they got 305 billion last year. Go and check in the Niger Delta in the last 1 year. If you will see anything, any impact near 20 billion naira, I put that fact. I doubt if you will see that at all in the last 1 year.
Okay,
now, corruption in that place before, the place has been a cesspool of corruption from inception. I have said it before. When
but Mr. Johnson,
want to contest, or even if
Mr. Johnson, apologies. This definitely will raise a lot of concerns for anyone who's listening, who has seen and heard and read all these arguments going back and forth. But how could all of these have been going on? For instance, the documents that you have you reached out to the anti-graft agencies? Because questions are, could all of this have been happening under their noses and then they look the other way?
One, the anti-graft agencies, they act based on information. A lot of times, I just discovered lately, because I've also been sitting on this side of the divide, also blaming them, criticizing them. But lately, I discovered that they need our support. One, they need our support to provide information. Two, at times alert them. Because if an agency is running, you may not expect them to just barge in there one day and say, okay, open your books. It rarely happens. So when they get information, they move to action. And I discovered that before now, you see some modus operandi that put them in trouble a lot of times. Before they dig enough, they start making making noise in the public, and at the end of the day, they don't have fact to prove their case in the law court. But I'm sure that on this case, they are working hard. I can say that of anti-corruption agencies, and I've submitted, some few stuffs, and I'm sure that in a very short while, you will start seeing action from them. But by my understanding, they are doing a lot of investigation. If we have submitted things, for example, they need to confirm, they need to ask questions and all of that. So when they get to the stage where they need to come out, I'm sure they will come out. And don't forget that this issue has become one of public interest. It is not possible for anybody to sweep it under the carpet. And we have been watching everyone involved very keenly.
So speak to us from that perspective then. Just in addition to what you're about to say, did you find, from your findings, is it an individual just going rogue, or is this a coordinated activity of fraud?
Okay. Before 2019 August, I believe that there was no established cabal. Everyone sent to that place. Once they get there, their eyes just open to the fact that in this place, you just come there to pick money on the floor. So the brazen looting start. Now, but between August and now, I can say, the Minister of Niger Delta has been the singular individual running that place. He gives orders. He has abandoned the Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs, which he should supervise, which he should superintend over. Go and ask how many times he has been to his office. Go and ask if there's any policy at all in the Ministry of Niger Delta, if they are doing anything at all. He sit and run NDDC from his guest house and his house. We have made this allegation before. So the fact is that lately it has been one individual running the place. And it is what he says that is law. Whoever does, in fact, nobody can even question him. So the fact is that my anger is that, is it that the presidency are not getting security reports on these activities? So those, we have had this anger before now, that all of these things are going on, and we believe that the president should be getting security report every single day about these activities, especially when it involves areas that are highly volatile. So I can say to you and confirm to you that between August and now, when the minister assumed office, don't forget that as soon as he assumed office as a minister, the following day, less than 24 hours after, he wrote to the chief of staff to take over the job of the president in supervising NDDC. And few weeks after, the chief of staff replied him and gave the ministry the power. But the minister keeps saying that the chief of staff did not give the ministry the power, that he gave him the power to supervise over the ministry. Over NDDC. So basically, the ministry does not superintend over the commission. It is the Minister of Niger Delta Affairs. Now, going back to what I was saying, we've been watching everyone involved in this very keenly. I'll give you one typical example. After we raised allegations, write petitions, and the National Assembly decided to investigate the issue, we knew, of course, we have watched the antecedents of both NAS and these people. We know that a lot of times they settle things on the ground and they call it political affairs. But because we were watching very keenly, when the commission wrote a letter to the National Assembly for virement, apparently for the same figure that is missing or that they have squandered, we were in fact, less than 2 or 3 days after, we got the letter and we cried out to Nigerians that these people are about settling. And of course, from that moment, they started their fight. Of course, we withdrew and let them finish themselves. But basically, we are watching everyone involved, and this is a very strong statement to those who are involved in this now. We have heard lately of some meetings. We have heard of 5 jobs meant for payment. We have heard of we have heard of some few things ongoing. If anyone happen, we will not hesitate to mention names in specific amount and those who are involved.
Mr. Johnson, you referenced the other time that, perhaps the presidency isn't aware of what is happening, but of course, you're aware, of course, that there are some efforts to audit, the books of the NDDC, and there have been exchange of leadership and the movement of people from one place to another. Are you saying that the audit plan of the NDDC is not, going anywhere?
Again, regrettably, I think what we have now is not forensic audit. What we have now is forensic looting. I keep withholding information. I don't want to say much. But if I have any of them sit with me, they put themselves in trouble. Each time I raise small allegation, they argue, we release more. Let me give you what is going on there right now regarding the forensic audit. On October 25, the minister wrote to the president and gave the plan for the forensic audit. He gave 6 months to start and finish the audit. That was the day he recommended 3 individuals for appointment as IMC members for the board to be suspended, simply because there will be a forensic exercise that will last for 6 months, according to him, his own word, in his own letter to the president. So the president approved this. Now, the IMC came in 4 days after, October 29th. And between that October 29 and February, nothing was done on forensic audit. They advertised for the lead consultant on the forensic audit around February, and they picked a lead consultant. The lead consultant has only been paid till date 45 million naira and some small change for his logistics, which in itself is fraud because the memo that came from FEC, of course, maybe we'll just discuss that later, but between that February and May, that the National Assembly decided to investigate the affairs, nothing was done again on the forensic audit. They did not, I repeat, procure forensic auditors all through. So 6 months that the minister said that they would do forensic, practically nothing was done on the forensic because they did not procure forensic auditors. Now, in May, towards the end of May, they hurriedly rushed, and they wrote a letter to BPP asking for waiver to procure auditors. And the Minister of Niger Delta Affairs single-handedly handpicked the auditors, the forensic auditors, for this process. I ask for the minister who has nominated an MD in that same place before, for the minister who has nominated members of directors or of the board of the commission before, how do you think he would do that will have good forensic audit done by those he handpicked? The solution is simple. Let the president appoint or advertise and appoint independent auditors to audit everybody. Because we keep shouting forensic audit. What are the things ongoing right now? So if the president single or appoint forensic auditors to audit that place, the hunter now will become the hunted, I can assure you. So many of the things they are doing now, shenanigan. So for me, nobody will go back to the last 20 years again to audit anything. We have only this chance to get it right, so that every single person that has been involved in the looting of the resources of the Niger Delta people can be apprehended and prosecuted and brought to book.
From what you've seen,
continue.
from what you've seen, I mean, there's been several comments from them, denials. For instance, the minister has said that, look, he didn't approve some of this contract because a lot of those contracts were below the threshold of what the minister can approve. And then they've also said that, look, they only approved 18 billion naira for contractual claims and several things. But again, they were not here to come and speak to all of those, as we wanted to just find out from them directly. But from what you've seen now, even if this current IMC or the minister were to leave the place, do we have enough institution? Is it in place to ensure that these kind of items which you found, even if you bring fresh people there, will they still happen? Can they still happen as the system is presently constituted?
Well, I will try to answer this technically. First, you need strong institutions to to build any nation. You cannot have weak institutions and you want to build nations. It's hardly done. Then number two, you don't need a crowd to change a nation, whether you have strong institutions or not. You only need few noblemen in power. I'll give you one example. INEC, you know what it has been before the former chairman came into the office, Professor Jega. And of course, he made his mark, and the commission was drastically changed. The perception was changing because of his work. So, do we have the required system in place in the commission right now, that is the NDDC, to bring about a foolproof system where the money of the people will work for them? I may want to say no. But if they appoint fresh persons, can we get it right? Yes. How? First, the budgeting process must be changed completely. It must start from needs assessment. You don't sit down in your office and prepare a budget based on your greed as against the need of the people. So the moment we can take the master plan for the Niger Delta and put in place proper system for needs assessment per time, so that you know the long time, the short time, and the immediate things that you need. And you can prepare your budget accordingly based on specific needs, line items, the zero budgeting style. And the National Assembly also can also do its thorough job of oversight. I repeat, oversight. Because you cannot also separate NAS from what has been going on there over the years. They have had a committee over the years. Okay. So if they have done the proper oversight, is it that they were not seeing the fraud ongoing there?
Do you have documents from NAS members as well?
Forget his own allegation. I have. He made mention that billions were paid out for NGOs in one single day. Even though we have traced that day, we did not see any payment for NGO. I believe there will be some elements of truth in that.
Just hang on a minute.
What happened to those NGOs?
We'll come back to this in just a moment, for a couple of more minutes. Stay with us. Welcome back. It's our concluding moments now, Mr. Johnson. You know, the minister had, there are several comments, one of which he says, look, these attacks are coming against him because of the forensic audit that is about to go on. Any truth in what he said there?
Then let's put that side by side with facts and figures. And I can tell you that that is a blatant lie. Of course, you expect them to find something to hang on to. And that is what you've seen. I've given you the fact that in his own letter that I wrote to the president, he said they will finish forensic in 6 months. And 6 months after, they've done nothing. In fact, 6 months after, they've not procured forensic auditors. You can check this fact with the BPP. Of course, there are some records they can't change again now. Let them try it. We'll confront them. So basically, what about, he's just trying to hang on to something. Number one. Number two. Okay. Yeah, number two. I think I want to support what Prof. 8 billion naira embezzlement case with the AFCC to come supervise NDDC. And I ask, does the president like the Niger Delta at all? If he does, I don't think he will do that. And if he does, they should be submitting report to the president every quarter. So have they submitted any report to the president? By law, that should be the rule. And if they have submitted, what are the things involved? Has he queried or questioned anything? Number three, the law setting up NDDC did not even give room for such arbitrary delegation of power. Go check the law. It is different from the NNPC law that creates alternate chairman for the board or for each supervision. It is different from several other agencies created. In the case of NDDC, it was put specifically under the president. And I did a little of administrative law in school. And I know that such are not what you just, threw away like that. So I think as long as I know that the president means well, he needs to pay more attention to what is going on there now. Now,
what about,
remember when we started agitation, we told people that basically our anger is this, that after COVID, we will not have much money again. There's a need to save what we have left now so that we can have money to spend on infrastructure after COVID.
When you say this sleaze has gone, fraud has gone on for a long time, they've also had members in the National Assembly who have oversighted this NDDC for a long time. And they also culpable. In fact, are they not the ones coordinating some of these attacks?
Now, I have said in specific that the NAS also has blames in the issue on ground now. And they can't separate themselves because they've been on oversight function in that place since the beginning. So what have they done? Were they not seeing all of these sleaze ongoing?
Did you find any documents concerning any one of them?
Are they the one coordinating?
Did you find any documents concerning any member?
Attacks? You said?
Did you find any documents linking any member of the National Assembly who have supervised this NDDC for a while?
The minute we find, we'll bring it out. And I'm begging the NDDC, they should please not cover up. There's no political affair. If they have document, bring it out for us. We will take over the battle. In fact, don't just bother, give it to us. And let's do the fighting for you.
Okay. All right. So we'll see what happens with all of this. We do thank you for your time and your thoughts and for talking to us today.